kids, or this last weekend he was back in Florida with Melania. It was her birthday. But no, he doesn't want to sit through trial. He also particularly doesn't want to sit through the testimony when we get to it of Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen. I think what's interesting here is that, as you said, these are the kind of witnesses that are the glue that tell the story. They're not necessarily the most fascinating witnesses. But to Evan's point, one of the things that Donald Trump's team feels when they're going through this is one, can they just get one sympathetic juror here? Can we get this to be a hung jury? And they think there is a possibility for that outcome, much more likely that than he would be acquitted. But the other part of this is going to, can they paint Michael Cohen, and not necessarily Donald Trump himself since he has a gag order, but can his army of right-wing people on social media continue to paint him as a perjurer and a liar with also things that are true?
I just want to, before we leave the Donald Trump of it all, remind our viewers of a conversation that the former president's former attorney general had with our colleague Caitlin Collins. This happened Friday night, and this is part of a discussion of him, even though he was very critical of his former boss, saying now that he would support him and will vote for him for president.
I actually don't remember him saying executing, but I wouldn't dispute it. I mean, it doesn't sound. The president would lose his temper and say things like that. I doubt he would have actually carried it out. I think people sometimes took him too literally, and he would say things like similar to that in occasions to blow off steam. But I wouldn't take him literally every time he did it.
Now, he's not the only very, very sharp critic of Donald Trump who is now finding ways to explain why he's going to vote for Donald Trump. You covered him at the Justice Department.
Right. I mean, look, this is vintage Bill Barr. He wants to be relevant. He wants to be in this conversation. I talked to some of his friends and people around him, and everybody's astonished as to why you'd want to go on television and talk about this, especially after all the critical things he said of Donald Trump, and then sort of turn around and just kind of explain it away. It really doesn't make any sense. But this is how Bill Barr does Bill Barr.
Real quick, I'm guessing all is not forgiven in Donald Trump's mind?
Absolutely not. No, he continues to talk poorly about Bill Barr, and also he's not the only person who has said that he's going to support Donald Trump after criticizing him, that Donald Trump is still written off. So it's going to take more than just going on one show and saying that.
There's a lot more to talk about that. Luckily, we have 6 months to talk about this. Don't go anywhere. Coming